Morning, guys. It is Sunday and we're off to a pretty good start today. Woke up early, normal usual time, went for a run, made breakfast, and now going to try and get a good amount of work done on my own personal projects. But I usually do like to take Sundays off, but I ended up kind of taking Saturday off. I woke up sort of late and just kind of spent the day kind of hanging out, chilling, cleaning, and stuff like that. And I definitely prefer to at least work one of the weekend days as like a normal sort of work day, waking up early, doing my normal routine and stuff, because otherwise I feel like there's just not enough time in the week, especially since I have a regular job during most of the week and I'm trying to do like all this other creative stuff on the side, especially for the creative work. I know it's very easy with creative stuff, whether it's video, content, photography, any form of art, to only work on it when you're inspired and feeling motivated and like in that creative state. But I think, at least for me, I need to apply some of those classic kind of productivity techniques and scheduling things out and be more disciplined and professional with the creative work as well. Otherwise, it's just not really going to get done, or it'll get done, but just like kind of sporadically. Gonna go do some work now, and hopefully you have a good rest of your week wherever you are, and I will see you in a bit. Hey guys, I hope your week is off to a good start. I just saw that a bunch of you left some really nice comments on my previous video, particularly about the last section where, if you haven't seen it already, I included this kind of cinematic montage sequence where basically I took my camera out into New York City at night and I was testing out a new lens. So I got a bunch of footage and then kind of edited it together in this cool cinematic way. And it was a lot of fun to shoot and also edit. So I'm glad to hear that a lot of you guys also felt the same way. But I did get some emails, particularly about the color grading and questions about that. So I figured that in this video, I would share a couple tips that I have with regards to color grading and just my overall thought process when it came to putting together that little fun sequence. I'm not gonna go too in depth into the entire color grading process because that's honestly just way too much for a single video like this, but I will focus on a few of the key points that I think were really relevant to this particular video. The first being the music. Music is super important when you're creating any sort of video like this, especially in this case, since I wasn't talking to the camera at all in this sequence. It was just purely visual shots from what I was seeing on this little outing. And so the music really brings it all together, and finding the right track is super important. And that's all thanks to today's sponsor, No, I'm just kidding. Not sponsored. So I came across this one track that had this kind of melancholy, sort of moody vibe. It wasn't necessarily dark and like depressing or anything, but it definitely wasn't like the most, upbeat, positive track. But I think it paired really well with these blue hour shots and nighttime shots. I do have a bit of a background in music production, and although I didn't produce this track, I have used some of my own original sort of instrumentals that I've made in previous videos. But for this one, I did have to do some rearranging. So I downloaded kind of the stems or the individual tracks, chopped it up, rearranged it, starting with just the sort of instruments and then bringing in the drums a little bit later as this sort of energy built up. And then once I had all the clips arranged with the music how I liked, I messed around with the ambient sound, and I think that also adds to a lot of the emotion. You have the music driving it, but then you have these little bits and pieces of sound that I just captured straight through my camera. I didn't even have a external microphone, and so I was still able to make it sound pretty good. Like the scene with, you can hear the helicopter going over, or the trains, or the water when I'm on the ferry and things like that. I think that all sort of adds to the experience, and that layered on top of the music really just kind of brings it all together. And then lastly, let's talk about the color grading for this sequence. To color grade my footage and edit the video, I use DaVinci Resolve, which is generally considered the best software for color grading, although you can use other softwares too. This is what I use. And the big thing here was matching the white balance across the different clips and leaning more into this sort of blue vibe that I found a lot of the clips naturally had, because a lot of it, especially the parts outside, were filmed during blue hour at night when just everything kind of has this natural blue vibe to it. And so I wanted to make sure that that was continued throughout the entire sequence so it would feel more cohesive. And this was most relevant for the section on the train, where the clips naturally had more of this yellowish tint because of the lighting, which it still looked okay, but I personally didn't really like it, and it sort of stuck out in comparison to the rest of the footage, which looked more blue. And so to fix that, what I did was I created a white balance node in DaVinci, and an important thing to do is to right click it, go to gamma, and set that to linear. And this way, when you adjust your white balance, it's a lot more natural than just using the white balance slider. And so you can actually use the gain color wheel to adjust your white balance, and it'll just work in a lot more natural way. Your footage won't break apart as easily. And then also in conjunction with this, I looked at the vector scope, and this is where you can kind of see where the colors are sitting on your footage. And so most of the earlier clips were sitting a little bit more towards this blue quadrant, whereas these clips on the train were more towards kind of the warm hues, the yellow and stuff. And so I just kind of dragged the gain a bit more towards blue until it was looking pretty similar to the rest of the footage. And oftentimes just tweaking the white balance can be enough to make your clips look more cohesive, but for this train scene in particular, my adjustments were a bit more drastic. I'll put the before and after on screen here, but yeah, matching the white balance and just the overall color mood of clips is something that's really important, especially when you have a bunch of different footage that's taken maybe on the same day like this was, but in kind of different settings where the lighting is a little bit different and you want to make it look more cohesive. Messing with the white balance, adjusting the color tints as well can make a huge difference. So hopefully that was a bit helpful. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you want to see more tips like this behind the scenes on the process for making my videos and things like this. I don't necessarily want this whole channel to turn into this purely educational tutorial channel, because I still want to, go out there and film stuff and document my life and just like have fun with it creatively. But I also am really into the kind of nerdy technical side like this, and I don't mind kind of teaching and helping other people who are into similar things with figuring out things like this, because I know color grading in particular can be very tricky. Took me a while to kind of get the hang of it. And once you do, it makes the whole video editing process, at least for these types of vlogs, a lot more enjoyable. But that's all I got for today. I will see you next week.